This year's number of sales are like the hero's journey. A lot of hope in the start of the year. There was some dark period there, and now we're returning stronger than ever.
Hey, Paul, good to see you, buddy. Well, let's get right down to it. I saw the Treb numbers came out the other day, and the June 2020 numbers look really strong. What are you seeing?
Yeah, 100%. They were just released and they look great. So I have a whole presentation ready to dissect the numbers if you're ready to jump in.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is the market update for June 2020. Again, going into the leading indicators for showings and offers, this is kind of leads the way for the market trends. And what we're seeing is, again, continuing increasing in showings from where they were impacted by COVID back to pre-COVID levels, and they're on the rise. Really, the only exception we saw here was Canada Day, as everyone took the day off to celebrate with their family and friends. Showings have been consistently going up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we look at the week over week numbers, or so this is the month over month numbers first, you can see, again, for where we were a month ago, everything's up. Showings, offers, new listings, sold, everything except for that Canada Day Wednesday, which it plummeted.
I wasn't working that day. It doesn't look like anybody else was either.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think it was a beautiful day. It was like the perfect day, and I was out by the beach, so it was a day off for us as well.
Beautiful.
The week over week numbers, again, we're seeing a slight dip, and I think you sent me an email about this, but essentially we're seeing the overall numbers that they're indicated at the bottom there. The decrease in the number of showings and offers can be somewhat attributed to the decrease in the Canada Day numbers. So just not having those same level of showings and offers made on that night and that day impacted the week as a whole.
So these numbers are lower this week than they were the week before. Do you think this is a summertime trend, or do you think this is just, hey, we had Canada Day and people weren't working as hard, or they weren't making as many offers, or what's your read on it?
My read is this is likely going to be the new norm going forward, and we may be slightly above next week, or in around the same range. I don't think we're going to be taking off and seeing the week-to-week improvements that we saw. Two main factors I think play into that. One is we're seeing people starting to take off for cottages again, and not just for recreational, for renting. They're actually, cottage sales are up 25%. So people are even buying outside and buying cottages right now, which leads to less showings in the city and more people taking off for the weekend to actually look at inventory outside the city. And I think as well as just vacation time, I think people are out more on the weekend. So we're going to see a slight decrease in showings. But as I message, approximately 10 people a day, 300 people a month, I'm asking them what their plans for the summer are, trying to gauge where things are going. And most people are around the city this year. Even though travel is opening up, certain countries are starting to open their border. I think for the most part, people are going to be around in Toronto, in the GTA for the summer. And so I think we're not going to see the drop that we would typically see in number of showings for the summer, but be kind of consistently where they're at right now.
Yeah. So this is probably where we'll be, which is pretty, I was looking at I don't know if you got a slide on the Treb numbers, but we're pretty flat from June 2019 to June 2020.
In terms of the number of sales?
The number of sales and the number of listings is pretty flat.
That's the lagging indicators for our sales average price.
Oh, nice.
Inventory. So this goes into the return of the market by the sellers and buyers. So these are the number of sales that we're seeing go up back to where they were pretty much close to 2019. They're only down by 1.4%.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty, interesting 4 months. I kind of related to this year's number of sales are like the hero's journey. A lot of hope in the start of the year. There was some dark period there, and now we're returning stronger than ever with the average sale price going up to $930,000. So that equates to about a 12% increase year over year.
Wow. Yeah. And so listings are back and the buyers are all back. And I guess there's some pent up demand from the last few months, and people are getting out there and spending their money.
Yeah, well, there's another factor that I'm seeing behind this, and I'll kind of dip into as I do my big picture summary of what's happening. So number of buyers are coming back out, which is effectively the sales. Number of sellers are listing their properties again, which is effectively new listings, right? And so we're seeing those return to, quotation, normal levels, right? And that's based on the sales to listing ratios is a balanced market territory, right? But if you're on the ground, such as I've been, or any buyers that are out there right now, you're experiencing a very heated market. And that's really because the big difference is the active listings. So we're still significantly down in terms of, say, this time last year, the number of properties that were already on the market, so not new ones coming to the market, but inventory that's
Active,
sitting
yeah.
there, is down almost 29%. So that's just a lack
That's
of properties
huge.
across the GTA. It's huge. So that number of inventory hasn't caught up to pre-COVID levels. So even though sellers and buyer activity is back up to pre-COVID levels, where there's a lag of properties being on the market that just isn't there, and that's what's really causing the price increase. Just
Mm-hmm.
buyers are getting frenzy, and so here you can see here the months of inventory compared to the ratio of sales, and it's pushing well into the seller's market, and that's what we're experiencing down on the ground, as we can barely get to some properties in certain neighborhoods in time before they get bully offers and well over asking again on
Right.
conditional offers.
If you take that spike out, the COVID spike that we had there, we were really starting to trend into a seller's market. Like there was no reason that we'd be into a buyer's market at any point, other than the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I think my personal opinion is we're going to trend into the seller's market, and there's not a lot that's going to bring us out, unless there's some huge influx of supply.
What this equated to ended up being the highest monthly average price that we've seen so far. So even if you bought in 2017 at the peak and were kicking yourself, you've now made money. We're back above the average for that monthly rate. And so what my predictions are going forward is, new sales will continue to happen as there is, year to date. If you look at the chart on the right, year to date number of buyers that are buying, there's about 15,000 buyers that have not bought yet. Mm-hmm. It's about year to date down 28%. And so I see, even though typically we go into our summer markets and things are a little bit slower, I predict that sales will be at the current levels, or if not, dip a little bit higher up for July and come down a bit in August going forward. So we're going to continue to see buyers out there shopping during the summer period. Mm-hmm. Right now, for this listing side, new listings again down 26%. That's about 25,000 properties that did not come to the market. And I can see that now that sellers are getting more confident with having people through their house, we're going to continue to see inventory climb, especially as we're getting great news like, hey, your property is now worth 12% more than last year. So I think we're going to start to see more sellers list their houses.
So you're saying that I'm not going to be having a regular summer vacation this year?
John, I would advise you not to go anywhere.
I agree. I mean, the feeling in the market is that, usually we're slowing down after Canada Day, but that doesn't seem to be happening right now.
Yeah. Typically it's usually the last day of school, which is right before Canada Day, where people then take off, their kids are out of school, they book their vacations, and that's just not happening this year. I think cottages are getting opened back up and getting rented again and getting purchased, but international travel to the States, just we're not seeing that same level, even across Canada, same level of travel yet.
Great.
We'll see over the next 2 months as new listings continue to increase. We'll see more active listings come to the market and lead to a little bit more of a steady price growth. So what we saw was kind of the delayed effect of inventory catching up to where the demand is. And I think that's going to slowly continue to be the case, but not at the same rate of 12% month over month.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting year. Like, I think people are delaying putting their property on. They wouldn't necessarily have listed through the summer because people have gone away, but nobody's going anywhere. So why not list your house, and you're going to get a fair price listing at this time, because most people, obviously people can't leave the country. There's not enough cottages for us all to leave to and get out of the city for weeks on end.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think we'll have this kind of delayed summer, maybe a little bit of a break in August, I'm hoping. And then back at it again in September for the regular fall push.
Yeah, back to business as usual.
That's right.
The only interesting trend that I'm noting, and I'm trying to look for as many statistics as I can find on this, is that, so here's the average, sales and average sale prices for the 416 area code versus 905. And you can see that for the 416 area, the number of sales are still significantly down for detached 10%, semis 21%, even condos are still down 13%. Wow. Compared to 905, which detaches up 10% in terms of number of sales that we see at this time. And even townhouses, even semis are, well, they're slightly down, not as much as we've been seeing for semis in the city. And prices for both areas are up significantly. So we're seeing a push, an increase for the number of properties being purchased outside the 416 area. Uh, and I'm seeing that even with the calls that I'm getting now from listing appointments of sellers saying, hey, you know what, I'm looking, to have that extra office or that bigger backyard. And they're calling me about listing their house in the city and potentially moving to Burlington, moving to Stouffville, even Kingston area. And so these are the type of calls I'm starting to see more of. And I think it's a growing trend to watch going forward, is how during this time, how many people are going to be migrating out of the city.
Yeah. I think there's people are sick of kind of being stuck in their little box in the city, and they're looking at the properties that are available and outside. So say somebody does want to list their house, what's a couple things that they should do before having you in as a realtor? Like how should they be preparing?
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest concerns that I get from when I sit down with the seller is, one is safety. And what I can reassure, anyone who's even thinking about listing is that we've been doing this now for about 4 months. And so the safety protocols are there for agents, so we're all used to this protocol now, and so is the buyers. So it's getting safer, and sellers are gaining confidence with the decrease in number of COVID cases. Even the fact that yesterday was the first reported day in a month, there was 0 COVID related deaths. The second thing is practicality. And that's the biggest issue that I'm dealing with sellers who want to sell, is that they're at home and maybe one work at home office, or even 2 for each person, and the kids are home from school. And so it's, how do we get our house ready and put on the market and manage work schedules and kid schedules? So that's the practicality, the biggest challenge sellers face. And what I'm advising them is that, I have a team in place. So a lot of agents do, in terms of handymen, movers and storage, stagers. So maybe taking off, renting something, a cottage for a week and taking off during showing, so that you don't have to be in the property at the time, and just getting it ready for the market, because right now is incredibly hot. There's not enough inventory. So if you have a property, now is the time to consider.
Yeah, now's the time for sure. I'm seeing more properties for sale in my neighborhood than I ever have before. Driving down one of our main streets, I couldn't believe, it was like we usually get one every so often, and there's 5 within a pretty small stretch there. So I don't know if they're just getting the message that it's a good time to sell, or it's just a coincidence, but we need the listings.
Again, I think it's that confidence to have people in again to their house, without the concern for safety. And 2, hearing, the word on the street, watching the sales prices on your street. I'm sure you've followed a few of those sales and be like, wow, those are great prices. Maybe now, I was thinking about selling, maybe now is the time to do it, especially if you don't have enough space, or you're not planning to renovate and you need to get out and get more backyard, or upgrade your house, or downgrade.
That's right. Move to the suburbs, move to the country.
I'm a big proponent for living in the city. I love the amenities that the city offers, but again, with offices staying closed for the time being, people are questioning, do I still need to live so close to the city if I can work only 3 days from the office in the future?
Well, I mean, we've made all our decisions based on quality of lifestyle, right? And for a long time, that was the commute time. I want to pay probably a little bit more than I would have to, but I don't want to be traveling an hour or an hour and a half each way to work, because that's 15 hours a week out of my life that I could be home sooner, spending time, relaxing, doing things that are valuable to me. So I think people are still making that decision, but commute time isn't as important when you can work from home and you continue to be able to work from home.
I agree. I mean, it's going to be an interesting trend to watch. As even I look at myself personally and saying, I was eager to come back to the office because I like the office environment, whether it's colleagues, whether it's staying up to date with people in my office and what they're doing, or whether it's just having that peace and quiet away from home. And we had a pretty big commercial agent into our do a Zoom call with our office, discussing the trends. And then I sat down with a developer for commercial properties. You were talking about listing his property, and I was asking him about commercial trends and what they're seeing. Maybe for the next year, office is going down, but the return of the office in 2021, even 2022, they're less concerned about a decrease in office usage, and really they're seeing a decrease in retail and the increase of industrial as things go e-commerce. So, I mean, their prediction for the next few years is the office goes back to business as usual.
Yeah, wishful thinking, I think, on their behalf.
Potentially.
Yeah. So I need a vacation, Paul. Like, what are you seeing? Do you have any top spots or secret Paul Lapis spots that I should know about if I'm looking for a day trip?
I mean, nothing secret, but I'll tell you, my favorite places have been so far has been Brickworks with my kids.
Yeah.
And it's a simple getaway just to park there and go exploring and look for frogs, turtles, ducks. Like it's just, my kids are all between the ages of 4 and 8. And so it's just a great escape for them to run around and explore, kind of be outdoors. And they really love that. I live in the beaches.
Yeah.
So getting down to the beach, even during the week or on the weekends, always a great escape and just spending a day there.
Nice.
And I think one of my places I'm going to check out next that I just heard opened up was the Toronto Island and the ferry.
Oh, is that open now?
You can book ferry tickets in advance. It's limited capacities. I think they're running at half capacity in terms of number of ferries and people allowed on. But it, to me, was biking to Toronto Island and then biking around Toronto Island was always a favorite activity of mine.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we'll have to check that one out soon. All right, thanks for the tips, Paul. Looking another great conversation. I'm looking forward to catching up again next week.
Yeah, try and stay cool during this time, and we'll. The weather's heating up more than the market, so
That's right. I didn't think that was possible.
yeah.
All right, Paul. See you next time.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.